beautiful day in mid-August, and we're heading up to Baltimore now to go visit Fort McHenry National Monument and Historic Shrine. Here we go! Fort McHenry is located in the city of Baltimore. It sits on a peninsula near the entrance to the Baltimore Harbor. Completed in 1803, the fort was active into the 20th century. In 1933, the site was transferred to the National Park Service. In 1939, the site was redesignated as a National Monument and Historic Shrine. Currently, Fort McHenry is the only unit with the designation of Historic Shrine. You gotta start your visit to Fort McHenry off by checking out the Visitor Center. As soon as you enter, you'll see the gift shop. It's a pretty good one with a good selection of souvenirs. Admission to the historic area is $15 for adults. Kids are free, and your America the Beautiful Pass will also get you in. If you collect passport stamps, there are 3 here that you can grab, and if you collect lighthouse stamps, they have one of those as well. Fort McHenry is best known for its role in the Battle of Baltimore, which was the inspiration for the poem written by Francis Scott Key, which became the Star-Spangled Banner. I believe that designation of historic shrine is out of reverence for both the flag as well as the national anthem. There's a video that runs every half hour. Videos are always worth checking out, but at Fort McHenry, I would consider this to be a must-do thing. Now, it's really cool because at the end of the video, they're playing the Star-Spangled Banner and you're watching the graphic, but then the screen lifts and you actually get your first view of the fort and the flag. It's really well done and nicely put together. Alright, time to head outside and check this thing out. There are several scheduled events, including demonstrations and ranger programs. These run through the season, and I was very lucky as I actually came on the last day that they were happening. And in fact, I came just in time for the weapons demonstration. Here's the boundary beyond which you need the wristband showing that you'd paid the fee for admission. You enter the fort through what's called the Sally Port. On the sides of the Sally Port there are 2 bomb shelters. These were actually built after the attack on Fort McHenry when they realized that something like that would be useful. Here's an exhibit talking about the Battle of North Point, which preceded the Battle of Baltimore. It was actually a loss for the Maryland militia, but they were pushed back to the Baltimore city limits where they dug in and set the stage for the Battle of Baltimore. And this room's set up to show you what the barracks looked like, which is where most of the soldiers lived and basically did everything, including eat, recreate, and sleep. And this here is what I think is probably the coolest artifact in the entire place. It's the original cross brace, which held the poles where the actual flag flew during the Battle of Baltimore. It's amazing that they found it, that was intact, and as a result of finding it, they know the exact location where that pole was, which is really cool. In addition to the cross brace, this exhibit showcases many other archaeological finds. There are bathrooms in the visitor center, but also within the fort, which is convenient. In contrast to the barracks, here we see what the officers' quarters may have looked like, and they have a statue of the commander of Fort McHenry during the Battle of Baltimore, General George Armistead. I was told an interesting story by one of the volunteers that I encountered during my visit about this powder magazine here where gunpowder was stored. A cannonball actually hit and entered the building, but fortunately it did not explode. He told me that the soldiers then proceeded to empty the magazine of the gunpowder and brought it outside into the fort to avoid any further catastrophe. I have to imagine that the British probably would have won this battle if that cannonball had exploded. Alright, so there by that bridge back behind me is where the main British fleet was, and that's where they had Francis Scott Key. Now that there, over there in the distance, that's about 4 miles, and the British, their range for their cannon was about 2 miles, and these cannon here only had a range of about 1.5. So the American defenders weren't actually hitting any of the British ships, those being out of range, but they were certainly taking fire from those that were coming in within 2 miles. But that doesn't really matter too much because their objective wasn't really to take out the fleet, really just to hold them back, because they wanted to go from there back over there where their ground troops were trying to get past the earthworks that they'd set up outside of Baltimore, and therefore to enter the city. And that's why they needed the fleet to come in and support that offensive. But they were able to survive the night, and the flag was still there, and they made it, and the fleet turned around and left. Although the bombardment went on for hours, only 4 American soldiers perished during the battle, which is a fact that I find to be amazing. Here we are outside of the Star Fort, and we can pretty clearly see the purpose of this star design. And this is a 5-point star, is that any section of the fort in the exterior can be defended from the various other points. Whereas if you had square, rectangular shaped structure, any side, you'd have no angle in order to shoot down and defend any section that was being attacked. Credit to the National Park Service. They've done a very good job of maintaining and preserving this historic site. There are water taxis which run that will take you to and from the Baltimore Harbor, which would be a cool way to get here if you were visiting the harbor, or vice versa. Now, I was here later in the afternoon and they weren't running, so if you do want to take a water taxi, you probably need to catch one earlier in the day. And here I am walking what's called the Seawall Trail. It's about a mile long. It's a nice easy stroll with some good scenery. And if you're here on a beautiful day like I am, it's just about perfect. Really nice. Towards the end of the Seawall Trail, I came upon this statue of Orpheus, which was placed as a tribute to both Francis Scott Key and the soldiers who defended Fort McHenry. The statue was actually completed and dedicated 100 years ago in 1922. I really enjoyed my visit to Fort McHenry and I learned a lot. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video at all, please give me the thumbs up and think about subscribing. If you do subscribe to my channel for scamp content, there's plenty more of that coming. We're actually going to be scamping this weekend, and I have some exciting news coming up, so stay tuned. And scamps like us, we were born to camp. Alright guys, later.